Hey, welcome back to Garage Time. I am glad you're here this week. This is a week that I need help. I'm a little bit low on motivation this week. I had planned on doing the front suspension, getting the wheels on the green machine. Had a busy week. I didn't have time to do some of the prep that I normally do. I needed to paint the backing plate for the brakes. That didn't get done earlier in the week, and so I just don't have the parts or the time to do something that substantial. So I'm going to pivot and work on something that I hope is a lot easier. The 3.2 engine.
Garage Time.
Do you remember a few weeks ago, I had taken the exhaust off this engine and made a trade with someone for a new exhaust, performance exhaust system. If you've seen a few of these videos, you know my motto is to never pass up a good deal. And I had the opportunity to trade a stock exhaust system for a performance exhaust system. And that's really fitting for me because that's what this engine is all about, and my car is more about lightweight performance. So I had the opportunity and I seized it immediately. This is the kit that I traded for. This is by GHL, and these are the headers, the correct size. These are 1 5/8" headers for the 3.2 liter Carrera engine. A lot of the earlier SSIs were too small for the Carrera engine, so these were available back in the day. I think SSI now makes the larger 1 5/8" headers for these engines. It's compact, lightweight, it's configurable with a couple different connectors between the sides, and then also there is a couple configurations on the muffler. So this is what they call a 2-in, 1-out design, and from what I've read, a lot of people complained about the 2-in, 2-out muffler had some bad drone. This one's slightly quieter and doesn't have the drone issue, so I hope it's going to be okay. I don't think I'm going to keep it like it is here on the table. One, because this tailpipe is huge and I don't have a cutout for that on my bumper. I filled that up, so we'll come up with some other creative method to get the exhaust out through the bumper. But this is what I picked up. Definitely going to put it here on the engine stand, see how it sounds, and then customize from there. It's going to start with a little bit of degreaser. And a Scotch-Brite pad. If you've been here on the channel before, you know I had two of these engines. The one with the red fan was Benji's engine. That is in the car. That car has already left my place. It is on its way to Manila. This one is my engine, and I am going to be doing the same diagnostics, make sure the engine runs okay, and whatever it needs we'll take care of here on the engine test stand. See, this is not rust, it's really just grease baked on. The other thing that you should learn from my channel is that no matter what you feel like, you should always get something done on your car every single week, even if it's something small. I call it kick the can down the road, but it's basically whatever it takes to get a little something done. Well, my grinder's falling apart. See, the screws are falling out. This is, I don't like these angle grinders that much, so I just get the Harbor Freight ones, and they're pretty much disposable. One of the screws is already gone, but this is when I use red Loctite. I don't care to ever take this apart again, so just glue it back together. For those of you that aren't aware how the air-cooled 911 heaters work, it's basically the hot gases from the engine go into these 3 ports. This is a 6-cylinder, so 3 per side. And then they put this box around the header to capture the heat of the exhaust. The engine provides air, because it's air-cooled, pushes air through the box and sends that heated air into the cabin with this outlet here. Actually, I think it flows the other way. I might have that backwards, but Basically, you're taking the hot air built up in this box and you're flowing it into the cabin. So one thing that's really important is you can't have any leaks, exhaust leaks, on the heads or anywhere in this system, because if you do, you're then pumping carbon monoxide right into your cabin, which could really make you sick. So I have a cool tool and a clever way to double check that the system doesn't leak and we're not going to get sick. There's a magnet on this. This is all stainless steel. All these components are stainless steel except for these flanges are steel. So they've welded steel to stainless steel, which is totally fine. But that's why these are a little bit more rusty. And then I think these flanges on the end are also steel. And the clamps are steel. So that's why some things are cleaning up better than others. Okay, everything is pretty clean. I did spend a couple hours on this, so no surprise, probably overkilled it. But what I used is this stuff called heavy duty metal descaler, and it's available from my local metal supply shop, Industrial Metal Supply. That did most of the work. It's a degreaser and it's got some kind of acid in it. I think it's phosphoric acid or something like that, but it does cut through a lot of the staining. So I just used a red Scotch-Brite pad, went with that. And then I switched to the gray Scotch-Brite pad, and this is called Barkeeper's Friend, and it's a more mild, but it's great for stainless steel. I think this is what they use on bars, keeping the stainless clean. So I like that a lot. Basically, that's the same acid they use to passivate stainless steel, so it really will protect it, keep some of the staining down. One of the attractive things about this exhaust to me is the weight. So I'm going to go through and measure everything. Probably going to measure this separately because this piece is really heavy, but I want to understand what the weight delta is. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to measure myself first, and then I'll just do the math. Yeah, so I'm holding everything but the muffler. That other piece is actually for the heater. That's actually a factory piece, so I'm not going to include that. So I am at I think it's 210. This is maybe 2 pounds at the most, so not very much here. For whatever reason, this thing is super heavy. That's 212. Oh, I forgot to put this on the table. This is the tailpipe, 3 pounds. So I'll add that to the list and total it up. Also, I forgot I need to fix this dent on the bottom here. Or I think this is actually the top, because here's where it's scraped on the ground, but this is bent on the top for some reason. And then all the V-band clamps and hardware and gaskets, I'll measure these too. It's probably a little more than a pound. Okay, I got this muffler weighing 29 pounds, which to me seems kind of heavy, but I have this stock Carrera muffler, so I'm gonna measure this too. I already shipped the one that came with the engine, but this is about the same weight. Maybe a little lighter. For me, it's 210, which makes it 25 pounds. Now there's nothing in here. It's not rattling or there's nothing loose in it. There's no oil or liquid in it. It's just really heavy. It's got double thickness construction right here. The stainless is welded all the way along the length. It's welded all the way around the ends. This system comes in at 61 pounds, and the stock system I think was 73 pounds. There's some debate what's included, whether this is included, but this is only a 3 pound piece. So I think there's a savings on this, but I think there's room for improvement. You know, the heat exchangers are lighter than the factory ones, but this muffler is actually heavier, and I'm not 100% sure why this is so heavy. I don't know if they're trying to prevent drone with the thing expanding and contracting, or if it's just overbuilt, or if they're concerned because it's attached to the engine, it's just constantly vibrating and these welds come loose. But for me, I see myself using this part of the system and then maybe fabricating my own muffler to fit my car even better and create more weight savings. Rounded it. So one of the drawbacks to these headers is the collector where these all join together are very close to the heads. And it's not necessarily a drawback, it's just it affects the way the engine produces torque. So we'll have to see. Okay, for gasket material to the heads, this is what came off the engine, and I have this material, this is called Remflex, and it's basically just a blank sheet. So what I was gonna do is cut my own gaskets. This is pretty thick. It's supposed to accommodate all sorts of irregularities and aftermarket exhaust, so I thought I'd give this stuff a try. It's supposed to be the best stuff you can get, up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for, you know, an air-cooled engine may not be a bad idea. So I'm gonna scan this onto my computer and then I can electronically create the shape to cut it out, hopefully on a laser. That didn't work as well as I hoped. I did 3 passes on the laser and it basically, because it's such a high temperature material, it wouldn't cut through it. It basically just engraved a pattern on there, which is sort of helpful, but now I'm back to the old razor blade method, which I wanted to avoid. Basically, just buy the stock gaskets, but I'm gonna see this through only because I wanna finish what I started, but I think the stock gaskets would be fine. So I'm gonna try this punch. Just has a little bit of a crushing quality to it that I don't really like, but yeah, I might be better off just using. All right, that's one done, and it does fit on the header. I would not recommend this material unless you have a water jet or a very high-powered laser. This is a lot of work to cut it out with a razor blade. So when you put the straight edge across and you see any kind of daylight there, like this one's a little lower in the center, but not by much. That's like a 64th of an inch at the most. Probably when you tighten the bolts, it would just suck that up. And then on this side, it's about, yeah, the center one's lower than the rest, but it's not by a whole lot. And then this one is like leaning in just slightly, but I don't know that it would cause it to leak. Okay, I've been working underneath the engine. I kind of degreased a lot of it because it's pretty bad. It's got some oil leaks, so I kind of degreased that. But most importantly is I took this wooden skewer and I kind of worked a little bit of degreaser in here and Berryman's to kind of clean out all the carbon that's built up on this flange and on the inside of the flange, because there's a protrusion in the headers that go inside the head. And I just want this inside surface to be really clean. Just sprayed some engine degreaser on it, so it's super dirty. That's the case, kind of old versus new. This is the clean side. That's obviously the dirty side. The heat exchangers are on both sides. I ended up using these copper nuts. This is recommended for heat exchangers to handle the heat, but they have a locking feature. I don't know if you can tell, but they're slit right there. So the last threads are like locks it on. So it took a lot of effort to get the nuts on the studs and thread them all the way up. Ended up using this kind of flex ratchets, 1/4 inch drive. Decided to use a little bit of anti-seize paste on this V-band. only because I want it to tighten down without any friction. So I want it to just clamp evenly without getting like stuck. These gaskets are in okay condition, so I'm going to reuse the original bolts and the original gaskets here and just try to see if it's going to leak. I will go back with some stainless bolts, most likely. I'm kind of guessing it goes this way, but I'm not 100% sure. And because this thing is so heavy, I might use my strings or maybe a ratchet strap. Okay, and to be perfectly honest, this might be upside down. I have no real idea if this is upside down or not. This did not come with a stock band clamps. Normally there's clamps that go onto this bracket. So it looks like it needs a slightly different bracket. I don't know if I was to clamp it, it would just pull it in tighter. Looks like it needs something different. I don't think the weight of the muffler should be all the way on these V-clamps because I think that's just gonna torque it. So right now, the weight of the muffler is being supported by my knots. So I'll have to do some research and see if I'm missing a bracket or if it requires something custom or if I'll have to just make something. And this is the last piece. I'd love to start it up, but I'm just not quite ready yet. I still have the oil tank to add, fuel pump, the wiring, the ECU, just like I did on Benji's engine. This is an engine test stand. This is where the starter goes right here, and that's my own product. This is kind of a good example of the cobbler has no shoes. This is typically zinc plated. It's kind of a bright finish, but this is sort of rusting away. Different setup here for the G50, so this is a different adapter than I had on Benji's engine. The next best thing to test for leaks is I have this smoke machine, and I've been wanting to try this out, so I thought this would be a good project for it. This can hang anywhere, and you just connect compressed air and 12 volts, and then I'll just shoot smoke in here and look for areas where it leaks. So I have to plug up the O2 sensor, and I'm just gonna thread an old one that's broken. I'm just gonna thread that in here. We'll see what happens. And this didn't come with exhaust adapter, so you need to seal this. So I have this wood plug from a different project, so I'm just gonna tape this on here and wrap some tape in there too. Try to get that to seal. This is a coincidence, this just happens to be the same size. It's a 3-inch pipe. So this is a 12 volt input. It's got a little switch on the back. So I'm going to connect it to my test stand battery. It operates on mineral oil. Got a little valve on the side. You can open it up. There it is. See that? That's awesome. And see where the smoke comes out. And it has a little bit of pressure, like I think a half to 1 psi. So it is pushing the smoke out of the holes. So we'll keep an eye out for any leaks. So right away, I'm looking at a leak right here. Right at this junction. So this isn't the end of the world, but that could be improved. I already got that pretty tight. I'm more curious about, like this joint right here. And obviously this joint does not appear to be leaking. One thing I could do is eliminate this joint and just attach the adapter right here to the inlet of the muffler, or I guess the exhaust of the muffler. But I feel like there's enough smoke and enough pressure in the system to where if it was gonna leak down here, it would be leaking. And I just don't see anything coming out, which is a great sign. We'll start it up next time, get a few heat cycles in it. listen for exhaust leaks, but I think we're in pretty good condition. This is the factory heater piece. I need some rubber couplings. I think the factory ones will work, but this seems to line up pretty well. That side there is just kind of sitting there. I think it'll push up. So yeah, this seems like a decent kit. Let's hope it performs well. I ended up spending most of my time just cleaning up the exhaust and also cleaning up underneath the engine, getting those exhaust ports cleared out so the gaskets could seat really well. And luckily, it's not leaking. So thankful for that. And this ended up being kind of an easy project, not too stressful, just kind of going through the motions and getting it installed. So it's one less thing I have laying on my floor. I'm also trying to organize around here to get back on the 356. So next week, hopefully it'll be a 356 video. Stay tuned.